Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to YuGiOh Talks. It's TCG Tuesday. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm a big fan of card games and I hope you guys are too. And what I'm hoping to bring to YuGiOh Talks every Tuesday or so is to bring in this TCG Tuesday, when I'm going to talk about some things in the world of the trading card games. And we'll be going from Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, anywhere and everywhere to find some good stuff to talk about. But today I thought I would start it off easy by giving you guys a deck I've been running with Yu-Gi-Oh and I've actually fallen in love with. It's one of the newer archetypes, and it is the Superheavy Samurais. Now, what do I love about the Superheavy Samurais? Well, the deck itself runs completely differently from anything else. The main trait, the fact that you don't run any magic or trap cards. You like Bekei? Nope, no use here. You like Solemn? Nope, don't even put it in here. None of those. Just your monsters, and it's all based on monster synergy. Let's have a look at the deck, and then after this I'll be showing you a couple of matches I had with this deck to see how to pull off some of these awesome mechanics. So the deck list is incredibly simple, and before we get to talking about the super heavies, I want to talk about the other monsters that are in this deck. Starting off with Machina Gearframe. You only run one of these guys, and the main reason is this, and it's his ability. When this card is normal summoned, you can add one Machina monster except Machina Gearframe from your deck to your hand. That is mostly the only ability you will be using here. Why? Because you bring out Machina Gearframe and you can get out a Machina Fortress that is in your deck. Now, why would you get out Machina Fortress? Because he is quite a big beastie that really helps out in certain situations, especially if you're able to get him into the graveyard, and then when it is destroyed by battle and sent to that graveyard, you can target one of your opponent's cards and destroy it outright before damage calculation hits in, and also potentially discard a card from their hand. A super good guide to make sure that the field stays under control. So the Machina synergy here, really nice. Also in this deck you run 3 effect veilers because of course people are going to whip out some pretty crazy stuff with their monster effects. You want to be able to counter it and make sure they don't occur. So run 3 of these guys. You're also running 3 construction train signal reds in here, and you might be thinking, why are you bringing the train in here? Because everyone loves suplexing the train. No, but seriously. Construction train signal red is a fantastic card to have in this deck. If you just have it in your hand, then by the time it's your opponent's turn and they're smacking you over the face with some monstery goodness, you can just reveal this, bring it onto the field in defense mode, and their attack is null and void. This can save your ass on many an occasion and also set up something for a potential synchro summon, so keep that in mind. As well as that, you're also running 2 Gorz. Why 2? Because Gorz is awesome, and when you don't have any spell or trap cards, Gorz is most likely going to come out at any given time. Just remember to bring him out on 2 certain occasions for battle damage and the effect damage, and utilize that to your fullest. We're also running 1 Genex ally Birdman, very handy to pop cards from the field back into your hand and create some really interesting moves out on the field. We're also running 1 Neo-Spacian Grand Mole because quite frankly, if a guy is out on the field and you're not too good about dealing with that problem, what you're going to do, you're going to knock it back into your opponent's hand, and Grand Mole is the guy to do it. Interestingly enough, we're also running 3 TG Strikers in this deck as well. The main reason is simply his ability and the fact that he's also a tuner. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. They're good tuners, they're good guys to help get out onto your field if you don't have the amount of monsters on your field in comparison to your opponent. Very good indeed. And of course, with a deck full of monsters and full of beasties that are roughly around 1500 or less attack from my deck, of course we gotta have a 3 giant rats. Very handy guys that you just want to get destroyed for the sake of getting out your bigger, stronger, more efficient dudes like the super heavies. And now that we've covered all the non-super heavy cards, let's go through them super heavy samurais. These are the guys I'm running. Of course, we're going to be running the 3 Super Heavy Samurai Big Bekei. This is your big guy. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can change its battle position, which is fantastic because if it comes out onto the field in attack mode in any way, you can immediately switch him into defense mode, which is where he sings. And why is this? Because all Super Heavy Samurai monsters you control can attack while in face-up defense position, and if they do, apply their defense for damage calculation. This is where the deck excels. everything works better in defense when you're using Super Heavy Samurais. And Big Bekei is the guy to help make your samurais attack in defense position. So you want this guy out as easy and as fast as possible. But how do you get him out? Well, one thing you can do is obviously use him with Giant Rat. He has 1500 or less attack, and you can immediately get him out of your deck, which is insane to think of, but you can pull it off. And it's quite hilarious when you just see your opponent going, "What the hell is 1500 less attack?" Yes, it is. Next up on the Super Heavy Samurai list, we have Scales. Do not underestimate this guy. Scales is able to pull off some amazing moves. And just look at what you can do. If your opponent controls 2 or more monsters and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower Super Heavy Samurai monster in your graveyard, except Super Heavy Samurai Scales, which is fantastic. And the special summon that target in defense position as well just makes it that little bit more tasty. So you can use Super Heavy Samurai Scales to basically get out any of your other level 4 dudes or lower that you have in your deck that are obviously Super Heavy Samurais. This can range from Blue Brawler, from Soul Piercer, to Flutist, to Soulfire Suit, and the most important, Trumpeter. We'll be getting to those in just a second. First off, it's Super Heavy Samurai Blue Brawler. And when this card is normal or special summoned, you can change its battle position, so if he comes out in attack position, immediately switch him into defense. The great part of him is, he cannot be destroyed by battle. So he's just there to be a big beastie that's not going to go down whatsoever, and he's also a fantastic guy to have out there, ready for when Trumpeter or Scales hits the field. Now we have Giant Rat that's able to bring out anything lower than 1500 attack, which is fantastic. But what if you have something in your deck and you want to specifically get out a very specific Super Heavy Samurai? Well, this is where we have Soul Piercer. Soul Piercer can work insanely well in 2 different ways. You can either put him out as you would a rat and wait for him to die, and then when he's sent to the graveyard from your field, you can then get a Super Heavy Samurai straight from your deck and into your hand, which is incredibly handy. But do not underestimate the other ability of Soul Piercer, the fact that you can equip this onto a monster from your hand, and if it attacks a defense position monster, you can inflict piercing damage to your opponent. This is fantastic if you want to get over anything with defense, such as ghost tricks or anything along those lines. Now of course, Big Bekei is a really big guy, and if you don't have Giant Rat out, you need another way to get Bekei out there. And although you contribute 2 other guys to get him out as well, what's an easy way to do it? Use one. And the easy one to use is Super Heavy Samurai Flutist. You contribute Flutist and immediately special summon a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your hand, which is super handy. You could do it with Bekei, you could do it with Scales, you could do it with Blue Brawler, Soul Piercer, Trumpeter, Soulfire Suit. You can basically do it with any other Super Heavies you have in your hand, which is super versatile and super good. Then we have Super Heavy Samurai Soulfire Suit. And this is the one card that can screw over a lot of opponents, mostly because of its discard effect. And this is what it does. You can discard this card, then target one defense position Super Heavy Samurai monster you control. Until the end of its turn, it loses 800 defense, which does seem bad, but it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effect. This means that any monster that has a card effect that gets rid of monsters, you're immune to. Raigeki, you're immune to. Judgment Dragon, you're immune to, and you only need to activate this once and it lasts the entire turn. You can use this one guy on your Bekei or any of your other synchro guys that are also super heavies, and before you know it, you're alive and they're dead. By all means, one of the most crucial components of this deck that you always want to try and get back out of the field by any means necessary, Super Heavy Samurai Trumpeter. This is your main tuner guy, but he also has some very handy traits when you are summoning some of your other monsters. For example, if you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can special summon this guy from your hand. And then after this card was special summoned this way, you cannot special summon any monsters for the rest of your turn, except Super Heavy Samurai monsters, which is really handy, because we're mostly special summoning our super heavies anyway. So basically, let's say for example, you use Scales to get back Trumpeter, you tribute those 2, you get out Bekei, Trumpeter comes back from Bekei, and you're able to bring out one of your big synchro summon dudes. It's pretty handy, it's pretty awesome, it's just great. And that is the main monster list that you're going to be running it with in this deck. Now let's talk synchros and extra deck. Now our extra deck is pretty simple. We're only running one type of Xyz monster through this, but it's going to help you get out your machine monsters because everything is machine type in this deck, and that's Gear Gigan X. 2300 attack, 1500 defense, 2 level 4 machine type monsters needed in order to create the Xyz summon, which is pretty easy to do, and you can detach one from this card to add one level 4 or lower machine type monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. It's just very handy to get out your Trumpeter, your Bekei, your Flutist, your Scales, anything that you need to fulfill a situation. Gear Gigan X can help you do that. As for synchros, we've got Naturia Beast, we've got Catasta, we've got Barkion, and we've got YuGiOh Guardian. We're also running Black Rose Moonlight in case you need to get rid of anything pesky. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, which of course is going to wipe the field completely of any face-up attack position monsters. We're also running Mist Wurm, and we're also running with the 2 big guys. Leo, Keeper of the Sacred Tree, and then Star Eater, the big bad beastie, which is just going to come out and is your big game ender in case you can't get out any of your super heavies. Speaking of super heavies, let's go over them as the Synchro Monsters, because these guys need to be looked into a little bit more than the others. First off, we have our level 6 Synchro by the name of Super Heavy Shoten Doji. So you get out this guy, you put him in defense mode, and he's able to attack in defense position, and when this card is synchro summoned while you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, which you won't do anyway, you can destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. If you have an opponent that runs a severely heavy back row, heck, even if they're running Toons and they've got Toon Kingdom or Toon Town in there or anything along those lines, Shoten Doji can just come out, wipe their back row, and before you know it, you've got rid of any problems that you could possibly have. But of course, the big super heavy and the big guy which can really screw people over and you want to try and get out with the help of Bekei and Trumpeter is none other than Superheavy Samurai Warlord, Susanowo. You get out this bad guy, he's able to attack in defense position with 3800 defense. But here's the kicker, once per turn during either player's turn, if you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can target one spell or trap card in your opponent's graveyard and set it to your side of the field, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can use this in any way possible. You can steal spell and trap cards from your opponent's graveyard so that they can't bring them back at any point in time and possibly use them again. This is where you're able to steal their breakthrough skills. This is where you're able to steal their Regekis, where you're able to steal any of their cards which could be a pesky treat or has been a pesky treat for you, and now you can use it against them in a really awesome way. Let me show you a couple of games that really puts this deck to the test. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that is my Superheavy Samurai's deck. Be sure to check it out and keep in mind that most of these cards at the moment are OCG and not TCG. So just give it a moment and maybe even prepare your skills over on DevPro or any other services to get yourself ready for when these cards get released over to the West. Cause damn, I know as soon as we get all this support here for the Super Heavies, I'm getting right on it. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all from me and it's now down to you. What do you think of my Super Heavies deck? And on top of that, what decks would you like me to check out next? If you have any deck ideas you want me to check out and have a look into, let me know in the comments section below, and I'll see you guys next week for another TCG Tuesday.